Hey guys, this is Harish Maradi. Welcome to DevOps World. This is a DevOps certified trainer. So today I'm trying to discuss about the new tool that is Maven, guys. So we'll discuss what is Maven, what is meant by artifact, what is meant by vulnerability, understanding of Maven global server, understanding of Maven local repository. Okay, so before going with the Maven, I want to know what we are trying to go with the sequential pattern at background. Okay, so for this you need to understand one thing, guys. So we already discussed about Git and GitHub repository. Git and GitHub repository. Okay, so basically what is Git and what is my GitHub repository here is Git and GitHub repository will comes a picture of developer perspective, developer perspective. Okay, where we worked under the task based operations. So we already seen some operations regarding about the developer perspective in Git operations. Okay, and we seen so far we are working on source code management. We are working on source code management. I can call this one as SCM. And Git will be Git will control we are trying to go with the centralized version control system. Git is a centralized version control system. Control system. Okay, so where we are working on source code. Okay, so if you want to go with extension of your versions, you need to go with the, so whenever the developer is working with the source code management, we are trying to go with extension. So if you want to update your software, definitely you need to go with the version. We are going with the version control system. Version control system. If you want to update your software like v1, v2, v3, like this, any application. Okay, so but most probably Git will be works under the centralized version control system, where we are trying to give in our company based upon the distributed. So we have a distributed version control system. Okay, so this is what we are trying to see the developer perspective. Okay, now coming to the part, so we already done this, we already done the code, and we are trying to push the code into GitHub repository. Okay, in previous version, but now here, so not only you're trying to store the code, so then where you provide the security, that's very very important. So for this we are trying to go with the next topic is Maven. So what is Maven here? Maven will comes a picture of, it's a build tool. It's a build tool. So here it's a build tool where we can create an artifacts. Okay, so this is what we are trying to see now, where we can see the artifacts. Okay, what is meant by artifact then? Artifacts, like, so if you want to go with the creation of artifacts, we are trying to go with so we are trying to give the file like, so we are trying to go with .exe, .war file, or .jar file, or .exe file. Okay, so we need to give these files to client. Okay, to client. Okay, so this is what we are trying to see the artifacts. Okay, now what is meant by vulnerability? So we need to understand what is meant by vulnerability. So vulnerability is nothing but we are trying to go with thread we are trying to go with thread, or we are going with risk thread or risk. Okay, so here you need to understand what is meant by vulnerability. So vulnerability is nothing but, so we should maintain the source code. So we should maintain the source code in GitHub repository. Okay, so where we can protect, so like where we can protect like so we have to maintain the two operations. The first one is Maven global server, and second one is Maven local repository. Maven global server and Maven local repository. Okay, so we'll try to see what is meant by Maven local server, what is meant by Maven local repository. So for this, what Maven will expecting actually. So if you want to create an artifact, what Maven is expecting actually. Okay, so we'll try to discuss now. So I'll try to go with the architecture. So how we can create an artifact. So if the client needs how we can create an artifact, this is very important. So here we are trying to go with first we'll try to go with we are trying to create a Maven here. We are trying to create a Maven. So we are trying to create an artifact. Finally, what we need to go with the artifact. So here, whenever you are trying to take GitHub repository, we are trying to take GitHub repository, See, if you take GitHub repository, definitely what client will expect, definitely the client will expect the artifacts. Clients expects the artifacts. So for this, we are trying to go with .exe files, or we are going with .war file or .jar file or .msi file. Okay, so jar files and war files will works under the Java environment. Okay, MSI file will works under the .NET environment. Okay, so these are the extension files. Okay, these are the extension files. So for this I'm trying to go with like this. So you are trying to go from GitHub client to, we are trying to go with the GitHub client to, we are trying to work on the artifacts. These are the artifacts. Okay, so this is what client is expecting actually. So you are not working with the source code management. You need to go with source code management according to the artifacts. That's very important. Okay, suppose, so finally see here, I'm trying to go with steps evaluation for this. So whenever you are trying to work on Maven, or Ant or Gradle, so these are the build tools actually. Okay, so here what we are trying to do, we are trying to maintain the build tool. So finally, once you've done the build tool, we are trying to create a generating the artifacts. artifacts. Okay, so here you should understand very clearly, whenever you're trying to work with the Maven, we are trying to expect the build tool and we are trying to expect the generating the artifacts. This is my procedure actually. This is my overall procedure. Okay, so this is my procedure which I want to deal. Okay, so now I can go with example, guys, to understand this concept. Okay, suppose if you take client, suppose if you take any software, like I can go with the Skype. I can go with the Skype. So Skype, so I was taking a Skype. I'm downloading this particular application. Okay, I'm downloading this application in my PC. So once you've done this Skype in my PC, once you download in my PC, this is a third party tools, right? So assume that I'm working with assume that we are working with Java. Okay, so here you need to understand one thing. Whenever you're working with PC, whenever you're trying to download the application from the PC, so but this product is completely like working in Java. Let us assume this. Okay, so finally whenever you're trying to download this product, we are trying to not see the source code, guys. We are trying to see the skype.exe skype.exe, and we are providing to the client. So finally what we are trying to do, so we are, whenever you are trying to download this Skype to PC, assume that this is working on the source code, that is Java, and finally what we are expecting skype.exe file. Okay, so this is example which I want to tell you from my side, because I want to expect something like I'm expecting the source code finally into artifact. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do. Okay, so this is what the explanation here. So then what is meant by vulnerability? So you need to understand this. So for this, what we are trying to expect here is, we are trying to go with, again, I want to tell you what is vulnerability. Okay, I'm closing. I just want to save the file. Okay, done. So now let's go with paint. Okay, so what is meant by vulnerability? You need to understand this. Very important, guys. So what is meant by vulnerability? What is meant by vulnerability? See, whenever you are working with so vulnerability is nothing but threat or risk. Okay, whenever you are working with vulnerable threat or risk. Okay, suppose I'm taking so I'm trying to take some Oracle application, guys. So I'm trying to take one example. I'm trying to go with example. So I'm telling you what is vulnerability actually. Suppose I'm trying to go with Oracle. So Oracle training application. So in Oracle training application, definitely they'll try to go with offline and online, right? So definitely the students will be enrolled in this. So I'm trying to go with online. So online site, I'm trying to go with online site. With this online site, they'll try to go with registration, and once he was done the registration, he want to go with confirmation of payment. Confirmation of payment. So if you want to go with confirmation of the payment, so definitely you need to give the request. If you want to go confirmation of payment, you need to give the request to API, that is application program interface. So you are trying to give the request to confirmation. So then what the server will respond, what the server or Oracle server will respond, they will try to respond the payment gateway. gateway. So here you need to notice one thing. So once you try to go with confirmation of the payment gateway, definitely the API will be interface mode. Okay, API payment will be interface mode. So here you need to understand what we are trying to do here is, so whenever you are trying to do the Oracle application, suppose I'm taking Oracle application here. I want to take a training on Oracle application. So the students, whatever the students, say these are the students, these are the training students, these are the training students. These are the training students. They're trying to take a training to Oracle application based upon the dashboard. This is Oracle application dashboard. So I'm trying to do that. So they're trying to make a registration on this particular Oracle application. First they'll try to go with registration, and Oracle application is trying to send the application to him, and the Oracle students are training the registration part, and they're trying to go with confirmation of payment. That is, so they are trying to upload the file on this particular Oracle application. Next, here we have one third party tool, guys. So whenever you are trying to go with payment, definitely we have third parties. So here most probably code created by developer. First thing you have to remember. Next you have to go with third party tool will be upload, and next we are trying to go with application program interface. We are trying to go with application program interface. Application program interface. See, what I want to tell you here is, basically if you're working from developer code to, we are working with third party application. We are working on third party application. Okay, so next what we are trying to do, next we are trying to go with application program interface. We are working on application program interface. Okay, this is what we are trying to do now. So here we are trying to work on the API file. So here whenever you are trying to communicate with the API with Oracle application, definitely we have, might be the third parties will become picture, and might be you have hacked on the particular part of scenario. Okay, so here definitely you need to go with so the developer want to go with compulsory. The developer will not work with on source code SCM. He will go with the scripting files also. He will go with the scripting files also. That is called Maven. We are trying to go with the Maven. So global server. Okay, so Maven global server means where the scripting files will be under comes a picture of dependencies, where we comes a picture of local dependencies. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do under the vulnerability concept. Okay, so in vulnerability is nothing but threat or risk. See, what we are trying to do when the developer is trying to send the request to Oracle app, definitely might be you have a useful information, even it will be hacked. Okay, so they'll send the duplicate information for him, but what is the use? So definitely we need to go with some scripting file for this also. You have to add the scripting file, and you need to take a application safe mode. Okay, so for this you need to work on the progress. This is what we are trying to go with the Maven global server. Okay, so now I'll tell you architecture guys entire clearly how we can work on the Maven. Okay, so okay, we are trying to go with the Maven. Okay, see, basically if you are working on Maven, so if you're working on Maven, definitely you need to understand very clearly. First, we have a developers. So we are trying to go with the Maven architecture. We are trying to go with the Maven architecture. Okay, I'm trying to tell you in brief about the Maven architecture, guys. Please try to listen very carefully. So basically, if you're working with Maven, definitely we have a developers. So developers will try to create a code and they'll try to commit the code. Developers will try to create a code, and we are working with developers. So we are working with developers. Developers will try to create a code and commit the code. So once you are trying to do that, so we are trying to send to GitHub repository, as you know this, right? We are trying to work on the GitHub repository. Let us think that I am working with GitHub repository. GitHub. Okay, so this is the client server. Okay, so this is the client server. So finally what we are trying to do, we are trying to push the code into GitHub repository, right? So finally we need to go with the pushing the code. The first one is we are trying to go with commit. We are trying to work on the commit and we are trying to push the code. We are trying to push the code. We are trying to push the code, and once it is pushing the code, definitely we are trying to go with the commit and we are trying to push the code. Okay, so this is what we are trying to from developer perspective, GitHub repository. Okay, so now, so once you try to push the code, then what is the use? Okay, if you're working on source code management, if you're working with source code management, you are writing only the source code and you're trying to push the code. So might be your, so if it is completely like originality version, okay, if you're working on source code and you're trying to push the code, okay, so where is your security? Okay, so even the third parties will hack very easily. Okay, so here you have a thread, or risk on your side, on third party hacker. That is hacker. Okay, hacker will hack easily on your side. Okay, now if the hacker is hacking your code, then what is the use? If you're writing lot of code, like multiple codes, you're trying to go with third party, the hacker will hack very easily and he provide empty GitHub repository. So then what is the use? For this you need to go with the one more extension, that is Maven global server. We are trying to work on the Maven global server. We are trying to work on the Maven global server. Maven global server. In Maven global server, we are trying to search like this: search.maven.org. You have to go with website like this, guys. Search.maven.org. So in Maven global server, I'll try to show you Maven global server now. It's very simple, guys. Search.maven.org. See here, whenever you open the dashboard, whenever you are trying to open the dashboard, see, this is the dashboard. This is the completely dashboard. Okay, so here you can try to search. So suppose what you want to go with scripting file. Suppose I want SQL server. I want to work on the SQL server because as per my client requirement, I can go with SQL server. See, if you search SQL server, see, nearly I have 219 results and 6419782. It is worldwide scripting files, guys, where all the scripting files will found on this particular dashboard. Okay, so don't write your scripting files. Try to add the scripting files from the Maven global repository only. That will be very simple and very easy. So I want to go with Java. I want to work on the Java. So see, if you click on this Java file, so if you click on this file, we have a scripting file like this. We have a scripting file like this. If you're working on Java file, we have a dependencies, that is we need to copy and we can try to paste into pom.xml file. Pom.xml file. What is meant by pom.xml file? Pom.xml file is nothing but where project object model will be represented, and we are trying to work on the scripting files. We are working on the scripting files. Okay, so here you need to know only one thing, guys. So whenever you're working with source code, definitely we have to go with the extension of scripting files based upon the project object model. So for this, we are trying to maintain the dependencies. Okay, you can try to copy and you can paste on your project as per your client requirement. That's very simple. Okay, so rather than writing the scripting file, it is very tough, but we are trying to copy and we can paste and we can modify the code, modify this particular scripting file according to your needs. That's very simple, right? It is less time to take and more efficiently to works. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do here, and we are trying to work on the progress. Okay, so this is called Maven centralized repository or Maven global server. Okay, so where all APIs will fall on this particular source code. Okay, and I'll try to show the versions also. So what kind of version you need? You have to go with this according to that. Okay, so you have to go with this according to that. For this, you need to go with extension. See here, if you know what is the versions of developer perspective, definitely we can try to go with according to that. Okay, so this is what I want to tell you very clearly about how we can work on the scripting files. Okay, scripting files we are not writing with manually. We are working with ready-made versions based upon the Maven centralized repository. You can copy and paste according to that. That's it. So this is, we are working on Apache Maven. You can go with Gradle. You can go. So if you want to go with any tool, suppose you want Gradle, suppose you want SBT, you want to go with Grape, Ivy. So these are build tools actually. So these are the build tools what we are trying to do. But as per our scenarios, I'm working with Maven. I'm working with that is Java. Okay. So this is what we are trying to go with entire the scripting part according to the norms. Okay, now so once you try to go with this, now what we can do, so once you this is called Maven global server, where all the dependencies will be found, where all dependencies will be found. We are trying to go with the found. Okay, so here we suppose I want to download. Now I want to download the files. See, suppose I want to download the SQL server. Whatever I told, I want to download the SQL server. I want to download the SQL server and Tomcat server. Okay. So if I want to download the SQL server and Tomcat server, so we need to go with search. And where all dependencies will be found, and you can download the files. Based upon the Maven local repository. Maven local repository. Okay, Maven local repository. Okay, see, basically Maven local repository means this is a folder or directory for .mvn file for the .mvn files. We are trying to go with .mvn files. Okay, so we are trying to go with under all these things, and finally once you try to go with downloading all the files, now we are trying to work on the so developers will try to go with they'll try to take from the Maven local repository, and finally they'll add in scripting files. Okay, they'll try to take the like SQL server Tomcat server scripting files. Tomcat server scripting files. We are trying to take a scripting files, and once they'll try to add the scripting files from here to here, they'll try to go and they'll try to add the scripting files. They'll try to take all the files and they'll try to add in that particular source code, and finally they will try to push all the files into source code management. We are trying to go with source code management, that is we are trying to work on the source code management. Okay, so basically you need to do all these things. Okay, so now here you need to understand we are trying to go with a different types of based upon the different types of scripting files. We are trying to go with this according to the factors. What we are trying to do here is we are trying to go with scripting file, and we are trying to push all the files into GitHub repository. So this is very secure. And finally what client will expect that we are trying to work on the client is expecting on the artifacts. The client will expect the artifacts. Okay, so these are the expecting or artifacts what we are trying to work on the progress. Okay, so this is what I want to say from the Maven architecture, guys. Architecture will try to go with very simple and very easy, but coming to the part we are trying to work on the progress. Okay, so here we are trying to go with different types of factors, and we are trying to see the practical in next coming session, guys, how we can try to create an artifacts based upon the Maven global server, and how we can take from the GitHub repository. Once the developer has done the multiple projects in GitHub repository, how the Maven will take under the initiate, and how we can create an artifacts. Okay, so we'll see you that one in next concept, guys, in practical sessions. Okay, so today I'm trying to discuss about the Maven very easily, and we are trying to go with the particular concept. Okay, so please try to listen this one, and if you have any doubts you can ask me in comment sections, and if you have any doubts I can go with the live session, guys, next coming sessions. Definitely I can try to make it very clear. So slowly my videos is coming, sorry for the delay, but definitely I'll try to give the good subject as per my side. I can give the projects also, you don't need to worry about this. Okay, so definitely we'll try to go with according to these factors. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, and have a nice day. Okay, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you, guys.